because there was no guile found in him. Watch what the Messianic prophecy is doing for you. What could a person not control where he is born? What else could a person not control, or it would be very hard to control? Where he is buried. Now, he could leave some pretty detailed instructions as to where he wanted to be buried. But if it just so happened that you underwent a trial, and that trial you were found to be a criminal, even more than a criminal according to the courts, and they sentenced you to death and you hung on a cross, what couldn't you control? You couldn't control where they were going to bury you. But in Isaiah 53 it says they made his grave with the wicked. What's that mean? Just so happened Jesus was crucified between two thieves. But with the rich at his death, what's that mean? Joseph of Arimathea came and took the body and placed it in a tomb fit for a rich man, even carved out by a rich man, Joseph of Arimathea, predicting how the Messiah would be buried, where he would be born, how he would be buried, how much he would be betrayed for. The Bible tells us in the book of Zechariah, chapter 11, verse 13, that the Messiah was going to be betrayed for 30 pieces of silver. When we read in the New Testament, 4 different accounts, Matthew, Mark, Luke, John. The skeptic has tried to say, well, these are contradictory accounts. They're not, but when the skeptic says that, guess what he does? Recognizes that they are independent accounts. What do the gospel accounts show us? That Jesus was betrayed by Judas. How much did Judas receive for his betrayal? 30 pieces of silver. Not only that, the book of Zechariah explains to us that that money would be used to buy the potter's field, which is exactly what happened to the 30 pieces of silver that Judas returned. But they thought, oh, this is blood money and we can't put it back into the temple treasury, so we have to do something with it. So we use it to buy the potter's field exactly as Zechariah had predicted. Also, Isaiah 53 predicting the conduct of the Messiah, that he would be led as a lamb to the slaughter, as a sheep before its shearers is silent, so he opened not his mouth. Other messianic prophecies telling us that the Messiah would be preceded by a messenger, and that messenger, of course, being John the Baptizer, said that the Messiah would come into Jerusalem riding on a donkey exactly as Jesus did. With one of Jesus' last breaths on the cross, he screamed, he cried, Eloi, Eloi, lama sabachthani, which the Bible tells us is translated, my God, why have you forsaken me? Which just so happens to be a verbatim quote from Psalm chapter 22, verse 1. And when you turn to Psalm chapter 22, verse 1 and start reading the Psalm, you realize that it is a predictive messianic prophecy in which it states that the clothes of the Messiah would be cast lots for. The soldiers at the foot of the cross of Christ were casting lots for his clothes. And Jesus, with one of his last breaths before his death, was beckoning all those who were watching to turn their minds back to Psalm 22 and realize that this had been predicted for 1,000 years. Does the Bible contain accurate, predictive prophecy? Absolutely. A resounding yes. What does that mean to us? Jeremiah nailed it when he said in Jeremiah 28 verse 9, when the word of the prophet comes to pass, the prophet will be known as one whom the Lord has truly sent. What is the Bible known as? The book that the Lord has truly inspired.